Okay, good morning. I'm going to ask if we stand for invocation and pledge of allegiance. May we bow in an attitude of prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you this morning just asking for your guidance, your direction, your blessing. Lord, as we think about this Saturday is Veterans Day, we think about all the veterans that have served, given of themselves, sacrificed to protect our freedom. Pray for the families and the loved ones of those that gave the ultimate sacrifice. Lord, have mercy upon them. Give us peace and love in our heart. Use us for service. Direct us and guide us this day, I pray in thy name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good morning again to everyone. Welcome and thank you for being here this morning. First item is approval of the minutes from October the 24th.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Commissioners' reports and comments, and I'm going to ask Commissioner Wagner to go first this morning. You've got a big agenda.
Hey, good morning. Got some very special people here today in all walks of life. So we're going to start with, we have an Eagle Scout, Colton Burleson, who admittedly I screwed that up because I missed the Sunday. I put it in my calendar wrong. So this is a special exception. We're bringing Colton in here and we're going to give him the ceremony. You did Colton did a project for Leitersburg Fire Department for his Eagle Scout. Been a long journey. We did his brother was an Eagle Scout last year, I think it was. We came to your home and did that one. But if you guys want to say anything, you're welcome to say it. But if not, you want to say anything, Colton? How come? You're an Eagle Scout, man. You should have a speech or something. Nah. So what we'll do is we'll come over here and we'll get your recognition, and then if you want to say something, you're welcome to say it. I mean, you're one of a few. You're special, and everybody's proud of you, and there's not that many people achieve the rank of Eagle, so the whole community's proud of you for that. We do a lot of Eagle Scout ceremonies, but not near as what people think with all the scouting around, because it's just a hard road. It's a hard road, long road. So we wanted to give you a special recognition for that. This is his father, Chuck.
And then let's all get one too down here. Yeah.
All right, Colton, this is where you got to be humble, right? It's hard to be humble sometimes. Colton, on behalf of the Board of County Commissioners of Washington County, we'd like to commend you on earning the rank of Eagle Scout with Boy Scout Troop 14. Your hard work put forth in the completion of the relaxation area for the Leitersburg Fire Department demonstrated you're a tremendous role model for all youth to emulate. Congratulations to your achievement and best wishes in all your future endeavors. Awarded the 7th day of November by the Washington County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, buddy.
Congratulations.
We're going to go this way now. All the commissioners want to get a picture with you. There, you get keep that.
I'll say something, man.
You want to say something?
Yeah. Less than 5% of all scouts become Eagles, and I have 2, so I'm very proud of both my boys.
Good job.
Thanks.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for coming. Sorry about that.
Thank you. Hey.
He'll be on TV now.
He'll be famous.
Hey, he'll be on that too. He can't even get better, right? Okay, now we have another special guest. And now Jimmy won't say much, I don't think, but it's Mr. Jimmy, White Tiger Martial Arts School. Jimmy's been in our community for 25 years. He's brought some students with him. He teaches all ages, but he really has made a huge impact on our students and youth of Washington County. He does an after-school program where he picks students up. Some are special needs, takes them to his martial arts studio, and they get their instructions. So we have, what, Johnny? Is it John? What was your name back? Where's the other one at? Back there. Thomas. 12 years with Thomas. How old are you, Thomas? 18. You've been 12 years, and Johnny, 6 years. So Jimmy's made like I said, he's made a huge impact. Plus, he's achieved things that, to back up his successful school and his real concern for our community. He was born and raised on Mulberry Street, right? Mulberry, right? Yep. And he just earned his 9th Dan Black Belt Kudan. And you're gonna have to help me out here, Jimmy, with some of these pronunciations. It's the highest rank able to be earned in traditional Taekwondo and Kudan. It's also the highest rank able to be earned in karate. Jimmy's 52. He walks a little strange sometimes in the morning when it's cold, right, buddy? You've been beat on a lot through that journey. He also trained kickboxing. Kickboxing's part of the agenda. And this is one I'll remember. I don't know how many will, but he's located on the dual highway. He trained under kickboxing champion Superfoot Bill Wallace. I don't know if anybody remembers Superfoot Bill Wallace. Probably not, but I do. That's sad, but I do. And 10th Dan Grandmaster Floyd Burke, who is also the editor for the Black Belt magazine. There are only a few hundred 9th degree Dan Black Belts in the United States. So this is a remarkable achievement for Jimmy. And I've known Jimmy several years, tried to sell his house, wasn't successful, but he still likes me. So I just can't say enough about it, especially the after-school program, where you really help the kids out and the youth out. And, some of them, like you said, were special needs, so that takes a whole nother development of learning, keeping them engaged, I'm sure. But anyway, thank you very much. If you come up, we'll give you recognition for that. So everybody, students come up, and Marcy, come up.
She does all the speaking for me.
Yeah, Mark, do you don't want to talk, Jimmy?
She can.
He gets real shy in situations like that.
You want to say a few words? Yeah, you have to talk loud because we don't have a microphone right here.
I would like to say that, I've known my husband since we were 11 years old and met on our farm here in Hagerstown. And I do have to say that I'm just so proud of him for the achievements he's made. He's overcome a lot. There was a drunk driver accident when he was only 21 that literally took away his ability to even walk. The doctors said he would never walk again. And look at everything he's achieved. And it was his martial arts practicing that brought him back, was his physical therapy, his occupational therapy that got him back to where he is. And when he was able to achieve that, he had a goal to have his own school and give back to kids and adults even. We have adults at our school that come in needing something that can build their spirits back up, that can make them achieve the best version of themselves. So he works very hard every day to just make sure that the kids and the families at our school feel welcome and feel like they're doing their own personal achievement, and he helps lead them to it. And I'm just really proud of him.
That's why she does all the speaking.
We are too.
That was a good speech, Marcy. Okay, certificate of recognition for Grandmaster James, Mr. Jimmy Smith. The Board of County Commissioners of Washington County would like to recognize James, Mr. Jimmy Smith, on your rare, remarkable achievements of earning your 9th Dan Black Belt, an accomplishment only achieved by a few hundred people in the United States. We thank you for your over 25 years of service to our community and the impact you have made on the lives of thousands of your students. Your dedication and commitment to Washington County and its citizens is commendable. Congratulations. Award this 7th day of November, 2023 by the Washington County Board of County Commissioners. Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Come on, guys, we're gonna get in our picture. He's bigger than I thought he was. Look at that. Jeez.
His nickname is Moose.
Moose.
Call him Mr. Moose.
Can you take him? You can? Come on, Johnny.
Johnny Brown fights him all the time.
Doesn't work. No, this is yours, by the way.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, can we, everybody take a step, Perfect. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jimmy. Marcy, thank you. Thank you. Hang in there. Good job.
Speech I might call you.
Good. That's why you do it right. See you guys. Thank you.
Okay, is that it, Mr. Wagner? Okay. Commissioner Kiefer, you want to go next?
Yeah, great. I feel like I'm going to come up a little short, so
Yeah, really.
great people to recognize. Just a couple of things here. Would like to thank our delegation for meeting with us yesterday and talking about some concerns that are important to the county and county citizens at large. And I know they had a long marathon day, as they usually do, and so just thanks for them for reaching out to the community. More days like that might be a good idea. On Saturday is Veterans Day, and I believe the county is observing that on Friday, as many organizations are, but on Veterans Day proper on Saturday from 12 to 3, I will be helping the Hancock United Methodist Church serve a luncheon to Hancock area veterans and a guest. So if anyone is listening that might like to attend that, Saturday, November 11th from 12 to 3 at the Hancock United Methodist Church. You can call 301-678-6440. That's 301-678-6440 to reserve a seat. And that's just to honor veterans and thanking them for their sacrifice, time away from family, serving our country. And looking at our calendar, it looks like this may be our last meeting until Thanksgiving. Is that correct? So just would like to offer a happy Thanksgiving to my colleagues, our employees, our staff here at the county government, our citizens, people in attendance. One of my favorite holidays. It's a time just to be with family, enjoy, eat a little bit of food or a lot of bit of food, whatever you would like to do, and just a special holiday, and I hope everyone has a good Thanksgiving. I know 2023, ups and downs, and just be thankful to be with family and those with you. So happy Thanksgiving. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Harvey?
Thank you, President Barr. Likewise, I'd like to mention Veterans Day and Thanksgiving, since we're not going to meet until after those 2 days. Thanksgiving is a time to celebrate the harvest and the blessings of the past year, and I think we all know that. But it's also a time to reflect on our blessings and to be grateful for things that are more general in our lives or more particular in our lives, and to show gratitude for what we have. And if you take a moment to think about it, we have a lot to be thankful for, especially when you look around the world and you see the turmoil that's going on. We have got a lot of blessings and things to be grateful for here, regardless of our circumstances individually or as a family. Everyone has challenges, everyone has problems that they're dealing with, but there's a lot to have gratitude for. And I think it's a time to think about a simple word like being content. Content, okay? Being fulfilled or satisfied. Doesn't mean that you don't strive and you don't work hard and you don't have dreams and aspirations to get out of the circumstances you're in, to get out of a difficult situation, or to build your career and have success on a lifelong journey. But there is a lot of resentment and discontent and envious-driven actions out there today. So I'd just like to ask people to be content, to diagnose, and to think about all the things that we should be grateful for, while also acknowledging that we have work to do. We have work to do right here on this commission. And we have a lot of challenges, and we have to diagnose things. And as Randy said, there's been a lot of sacrifice. And as John and Wayne both mentioned, Veterans Day. And we're thankful and we're grateful for the service of our veterans. And we're going to acknowledge them on Friday and on Saturday. I think it's important. You know, gratitude is an important word, and being content is something that I think we don't often acknowledge enough. Now, to shift gears from that, I do have some concerns, and from talking to people in the community, people who are investing in the community, developers, and you know, we see that there's a tremendous opportunity in Hagerstown to revitalize the downtown, economic development, investments. People are, not just people, but the state and the city are investing a lot in the downtown to revitalize it. But I'm concerned that the investments in the revitalization effort that are so needed and that will benefit not just the people in the city, but the whole county. All of our citizens will benefit from a revitalized downtown with thriving economic activity. But I'm afraid that this could be at risk if we don't keep our eye on the ball about public safety. It's not just about the numbers and the events, but it's about the perception of public safety. And why do I bring this up today? I bring it up today because, you know, I'm concerned that the city, rather than working collaboratively, is making unilateral decisions to reduce funding for the counter-drug task force effort. They have, over the years, been reducing the amount of investments into the police, and it's seen simply in the numbers of police that they have in service. If you compare it over the last decade, it's been a steady decline. It's concerning because there's so much at risk if we don't keep our eye on the ball and connect the dots appropriately. And someone might point to some statistics and say, well, the crime statistics are X. Well, I have an experience, speaking of veterans. I served in Iraq, and I remember when the Bush administration was saying that there were only 18 significant events a day in Iraq. What was a significant event? It was when a service member or contractor got killed. But the bombs that went off on the side of the road, the rockets that landed at Baghdad International Airfield, the ambushes that didn't kill anybody, that was violent activity, but it wasn't being recorded and reported, and therefore it wasn't being considered in determining what's the true situation on the ground and what's the perception for the Iraqi people and for our soldiers that are out there working in the streets, what's their perception of the threat environment. And so when I hear from citizens about their concerns about the threat environment, I take it seriously. And I hope that the unilateral decisions that are not collaborative, that are unilateral by Hagerstown wanting to reduce their effort on the counter-drug task force. And we all know drugs are a scourge, and the drugs contribute to so much more. Not just the direct crime, but it leads into theft, it leads into abuse, it leads into human trafficking. It's all interconnected. So we need community policing, we need stronger efforts, and it takes quantity as well as quality. You can't have community policing and be effective without quantity and quality. So we need to work together. We need to understand each other. And as Wayne said the other day, we need to have probably more meetings with the city so that we can get on the same page, because everything that goes on in the city impacts our police force, our sheriff's department. It impacts all of our citizens. So I think it's something that we need to work together on. I'm calling for that to happen. But I am concerned that the risk to our revitalization effort and the development in the city and the investment dollars that are being poured in by leaders in our community are being jeopardized. And with that, I will close.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Harvey. Commissioner Klein?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Just want to go through some of the events that I attended. I did attend the Ag Expo Board of Directors annual meeting. I do want to thank Funkstown and Hancock for their Halloween parades, a small town America at its best. The commissioners and staff also attended the Mummers Parade. I want to thank staff and Highway Department and Doug Levine and Sam Mowry for organizing that event. Also, I was down at the Ag Center for the Rec Department's Park at Dark, and I don't know how they did it, but they arranged a full moon for that night. That was added to the event. And I also attended some of the events of Secretary Jacob Day of the Maryland Department of Housing Community Development. Him and his staff came to Washington County, I think 10 plus staff members. It was a good day to meet the secretary. That same day, the secretary was up, I did go to Blue Mountain States, the Washington County Housing Authority, where they did the groundbreaking for 12 new units for our senior citizens. And October 29th, 2016 was the reopening of the Fairplay Fire Department. It was a historic day in Washington County, that meeting all the criteria and being on probation, and they were reestablished on that date. And I want to thank the delegation and everyone for yesterday for the pre-legislative session. We had some good conversations about several items. And of course, Veterans Day is special to me. This will be the third Veterans Day that my dad's not with me. And I think the sixth Veterans Day, my older brother, Danny, who's a Vietnam veteran, is not with us. So to all, happy Thanksgiving and happy Veterans Day, and thank you to our veterans who serve.
Thank you, Commissioner Klein. Yes, this Saturday is Veterans Day, and we appreciate the service of all of our veterans, and we look forward to making a lot of presentations and accolades both Friday and Saturday. Couple different things. I know Commissioner Klein and I attended the Dargan Fire Hall monthly breakfast on Saturday morning, and if you want a fantastic breakfast, travel down to South County and see what good is happening down there, and it's just a good Saturday morning. And
It's a quite filling morning.
it is quite filling, both internally and externally. You get a lot of good dialogue. Sometimes the folks in South County feel overlooked, and it helps to have some sit-down personal time over some pancakes and delicious sausage gravy to hear their concerns and their desires. Saturday evening was our local Meritus Hospital annual Crystal Ball fundraiser. It was well attended. Just hats off to Malik Jossi and all the professional staff out at Meritus, the talent, the expertise that they're bringing to this area, not to mention ultimately with the new School of Medicine that's being built is phenomenal. It will set this community just high and above many other areas with the leadership and the quality of health care that is taking place at our own local Meritus Hospital. Last Friday morning, I had the distinct pleasure of, along with Chris Boggs, Chris and I shared a panel discussion about a number of issues in our community with Leadership Washington County. I think it's Class 35. Many years ago, Class 2, I attended, and it was good to be back with them and to share an hour or so of important issues and common interests that they have in this community. I will say that they asked, how can Leadership Washington County participate, and I shared with them the 40-some boards and commissions that we have, and asked for their serious consideration to not only the current Class but previous classes to get involved, to sign up, and to participate in many of the organizations in our community that do a lot of good work and give back to this community, and many of which are struggling. They can't find folks that have the time, the talent, or the interest to serve on their boards. And I know I serve on Salvation Army board, and we're constantly looking for individuals that would want to volunteer and help with many needed functions at the Salvation Army and what they do for this community. So it's just a plug for them. I think, is it this Saturday or next Saturday is the JFK Ultra Marathon, the annual?
Sure.
I'm not sure if I got my Saturdays mixed up. I don't know if our PR department knows, but it's either this Saturday or the next Saturday right before Thanksgiving. And I just like, this is an international event, the JFK Ultra 50-mile marathon. We do have some local folks that participate in that, but there's other folks that come from all over the globe to participate in that event. And it does transverse on public roads through Boonesboro, up over the mountain, the Appalachian Trail, the towpath, and then ultimately on some of the side roads leading back into Williamsport. So we just ask, be aware of that, be cognizant of over 1,000 people running, jogging, walking in that event, and public safety is paramount. So just ask for people to keep that in mind.
That's on the November the 18th. I did look it up.
Okay. I thought it was the Saturday before Thanksgiving. So somebody had told me yesterday it was this Saturday, so November 18th. So anyway, safety is paramount in this community on that day during the 50-mile. Bear with me for a second. Upcoming events. Today is the Advanced Cover Cropping Field Day. Unfortunately, it coincides with our commissioners meeting here. I have reached out and spoken personally to Steve Ernst, and he's like, please stop in at any time today up until 3 o'clock. The event started and stopped, or will stop at his farm up on Broad Fording Road. So if we get out early enough, maybe some of us can stop in. And Steve is a very big proponent of agricultural, and he is very instrumental both locally and statewide in giving, serving, and participating in what is good for agriculture in the state of Maryland. The 21st Annual Economic Summit is November the 8th. That's Thursday evening at 5 at Fountainhead. Anaban Basu will be there once again and giving his insight on the economy and what's happening and what we can expect.
Don, I think that's Wednesday night.
Is that tomorrow night? I'm sorry. Did I? Okay. Thank you. I apologize. It's tomorrow night, November the 8th. Yes. Okay, thanks. Grand opening, Boonesboro Upper Cervical Chiropractic, November the 10th at 10 a.m., Main Street, Boonesboro. Veterans Assembly, we have several of them, Clear Spring High School on Friday the 10th at 10:30 a.m. That's all Jim Hudson does a fantastic job with the students and the folks there at Clear Spring, and we appreciate all his efforts. Veterans Day wreath laying ceremony, Washington County Courthouse, that is Saturday, November the 11th at 11 a.m. Boots to Suits Chamber event, Chamber of Commerce, November the 14th. Chamber of Commerce Apprenticeship Bash, South Hagerstown High School, November the 14th, 5 p.m. The Chamber Bash is November the 16th at 5 p.m. Horizon Goodwill Industries up on North Prospect Street. We also have the Clear Spring MML Maryland Municipal League Dinner, November the 27th at 6 p.m., Clear Spring American Legion. And an item that I have added here, I was at Lowe's on the north end a couple days ago, and they're having a kids clinic. So anyone that's listening out there, Saturday morning, the November the 18th, Saturday a week, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. They'll have guidance and assistance, and the kids can make some projects out of wood. They'll have it all laid out, and they always do a nice job. So just to keep our kids involved in something physical that they can build and touch and have that a little pride in. So thanks to Lowe's and all their what they do and reach out into the community. Anyone have anything else? Anything we missed? Thanks for the correction. And with that, we'll move into staff comments. And first comments, Jonathan Horwitz. Good morning, Jonathan.
Morning, Commissioners. Jonathan Horowitz, Director of Business and Economic Development. I have two staff comment issues to bring for you today. First, I'll start with some staff stuff. We have already gained a concurrence to do a budget adjustment and move some employment money over into our budget to provide a 3-month overlap for succession planning for our agriculture business specialist, Leslie Hart, who will be retiring June 1 of 2024. So I'm just coming back out into open session to, I believe, a consensus or just not exactly sure. Kirk can tell me what we need there. But in public, just looking to move that budget transfer.
Need a motion.
A motion. Thank you. Any questions on the details of that?
So basically, you're overlapping her departure because it's the type of job you should be trained on for a little bit.
Yeah, it's a sensitive industry, so we in preparation of that transition, we'd like to have a 3-month overlap there, just really for introductions to the agriculture community.
Okay, I motion to make that transfer.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you. And second issue, I've been asked to come before the board today in a public forum to sort of update your board and the public on the what we would deem mega warehouse or big box building that's been occurring in Washington County. First off, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention to the taxpayers of the community that our department is fully funded by taxpayers. So the staff time that's been spent attracting or developing these mega warehouses has not been on the taxpayers' roll. That is a result of the private industry's investment of personal capital into a market that they feel confident will provide successful returns. Given our geographic location at the intersection of two major interstate highways, it's entirely natural to see the development of these buildings in our community. Warehouse spending across the United States in the past 20 years has increased 268%. And that is, a symptom of consumer habits switching from a retail brick and mortar based environment to an e-commerce environment. So as you see, historically in the mid 90s and prior, a lot of private investment going into the creation of retail centers, strip malls, indoor malls, all of that capital and all of that investment has been transferred into what our citizens would probably see as large box e-commerce type fulfillment centers. And that is just a shift in consumer habits, and that is the private industry responding to that. And luckily, we do have a natural strength here of the two highways, 81 and 70, which has created this investment for us. That being said, I want the public to have the best information available so they can make informed decisions, especially now given that the County Planning and Zoning Department is open and accepting input from the public for the 2040 comp plan, which I encourage the citizens to attend those meetings and provide their input so that the county can plan for the next 20 years effectively on what they would like to see development occur. In this open forum, I won't be able to get into too many specifics, but I'll keep this at a pretty high level. And I am speaking only of the big box warehouse development. I've really curtailed this presentation to just that type of development. But the citizens should know that there's development happening in all types of industries across the county. But currently, of the 18 big box buildings in various stages of construction, 11 of them are fully leased. So that just goes to show you the demand for the buildings that were built here is still very high. 6 of the additional buildings have what we consider leasing activity. That could be a letter of intent from the possible tenant, which allows them to perform due diligence on the property, or various negotiation levels of lease signing. There is only one big box building that, in my opinion, we would consider having low interest or activity on right now. And we just spoke to those realtors this morning, and they do have interest in the property. There are people speaking to them about the property, but nobody has filed a formal written letter of intent on the property. So of the 18 big buildings that are seen across the landscape of Washington County, 17 of them are either in various stages of leasing or being leased. Just to give you an idea, that would represent roughly $942 million of investment into our community. That's about almost 14 million square feet of what we consider speculative development. Speculative development is when somebody comes in and spends their hard-earned money to build a building without knowing that they have a tenant yet. That is how confident they are in our community that their money will be deployed correctly. And that is around 6,500 jobs that are newly created to Washington County. Just a little bit of an update on the pipeline so that the community can be aware of what's coming. There are 9 more industrial speculative developments in various stages of development. That is going to be about 6 more million square feet and about another $500 million of investment, almost $500 million. That represents the potential for another 2,735 jobs. So I just want to the community rest assured that what their county government and what their tax dollars are doing is our department works very hard to diversify the tenants that take these buildings. We want to ensure that the tenants are of the highest quality and that the jobs they're creating are of the highest quality that we can attract into those types of developments. And that is not to mention the other types of developments that we have occurring in the healthcare and the retail, and especially the manufacturing sector, which is also a historical strength of Washington County, given Fairchild and Mac's history in our community. So that is just a little update for the community. I just wanted them to be aware of where we are in that development and that these boxes really, while they may appear slightly vacant, they're just in different stages of inhabitation by the clients and the tenants. So there's no need to be worried from the community that these buildings will sit empty. They are not sitting empty. They're highly desired. Is there any further questions or kind of updates or parameters I can put out for anybody that would help clarify the picture?
I think you addressed one concern about the tenancy, because that was a big concern that they were all sitting empty. Well, for now, some will, but like you said, they're all active being negotiated or some form of tenancy going on. I think the next report might be with you and getting together with, someone like Chris Boggs or somebody and coming in and telling us what the next question is, how much land's being used. We've addressed it several times, but it's getting close to that again, time and again. With this latest report, how much of our land has been used and how much is available, just to give everybody, bring them up to speed on what's actually happening out there with our agricultural grounds or any grounds. Yeah.
So someone anticipated your question, Randy. So I've reached out to Chris Boggs, and so just so the community knows, there's a yin and yang that happens at the county. My Department of Business and Economic Development actively looks to increase job opportunities and tax base for the community, while we have an employee, Chris Boggs, who works for Jill Baker's Planning and Zoning Department, and he actively works to preserve land. And while that may seem somewhat dichotomous, we are actually very close at a staff level, and we work very closely together. So I have an update for you and the public from Chris. The county is approximately almost 300,000 acres. We have almost 40,000 acres in permanent preservation in perpetuity. There's 37,000 acres of federal, state, and locally owned parkland that is open space and is protected, as well as 35 additional thousand acres in a 10-year ag district that cannot be developed. This means that roughly 112,000 acres, or 37% of the county's open space, is under some form of protection from development. Over the years, the pace of preservation has far outpaced the pace of development. And that is words directly from Chris, who this is his job.
I think it's important to point out that we are very preservation-minded on this board. I think we all care a lot about it. And I think it gets like we just want to, tear up every bit of land we can find and put something on it. But that's not the case. We're constantly, if anybody followed us, was trying to preserve more land to the point it's possible we throw more money into more preservation. So I think that's important to point out too, that we're not the hardcore bunch of just one big box buildings everywhere. I don't think anybody really loves them, but every time you hit that key, there goes an Amazon truck, and that takes a building.
Yeah. I mean, I think my personal community would like to see developments, like a Wegmans or these type of higher level retail of amenities, I would call them. But you have to start somewhere, and every community that has a Wegmans also has a very strong industrial and commercial base. So that's where we are now. We're building the base.
Jonathan, thank you for the update. Several questions, comments, no questions really, just some comments. Washington County doesn't sit at the crossroads of two major interstates. It's actually three. Don't forget about Hancock in the west. And, there could be some, maybe more attention, I always feel, placed on available property for development in Hancock. And I know we talk regularly, especially these last few months, about some possibilities. So thank you for that. But three major highways in Washington County. Sometimes I feel like when we have to constantly explain this to the citizens, it's because the citizens want something else than what's going on in Washington County. I think maybe we're on the losing side of that battle, and we can keep explaining away, every couple of months, but I think the public sentiment is pretty clear on this issue. Some of the concerns that I feel like I've addressed with citizens that haven't been addressed in these discussions is I've had calls because people's foundations have been fractured due to the blasting that takes place in their neighborhood when these warehouses go up. And so for any citizens listening, and maybe in our next report we can include, when you have blasting issues that impact your foundation, you actually have to call the state fire marshal. That's an issue that they deal with, not local government. So that's a real concern. That's just, we don't talk about enough. Changes in neighborhoods, we hear sometimes with developments in some areas in neighborhoods, they hear, I think the Williamsport buzz was something that we heard about last year, maybe it was 2 years ago. Those changes in the neighborhoods, that's important to citizens, people that live with us, live in our community. People's well water being interrupted. Again, when you have blasting or when you put 3 million square feet under concrete, under blacktop, under a roof, and blasting that interrupts how well water naturally flows underground. People have issues with well water, cloudy water. They have to get water treatment systems or maybe drill a new well, and whose expense is that one? Those are concerns that I've heard, that I've addressed with staff, and I'm just, again, disappointed that, we just talk about the good side of it, but we need to understand there's some ramifications for our citizens that isn't talked about enough. So maybe in the next report, we can highlight those concerns too.
Thank you, Jonathan, and we talk a lot and appreciate everything you and your team are doing. And I echo Wayne's comments there. I understand those and support his comments. And that said, most of these warehouses are along either 70 or 81 at this point. And one of the perception issues is people traverse 81 and 70 all the time to get to the shopping centers, the mall, doctors, emeritus, either going in or out. If they're Boonesboro, they're crossing. If they're coming from Clear Spring or Hancock, they cross. And they go by the warehouses and they see the tranquility and the farmland go away because everyone sees it. It's right there. But that's a product of being along 81 and 70. I understand that. Intersected with this issue, and this goes to Wayne's comments, are the truck stop issue, congestion, Highway 81 congestion already, warehouses and trucks that we anticipate coming for all these new warehouses that you say there's 9 more coming, and then those that are in different stages of being actively leased. We haven't seen the impact of those trucks and the traffic. And then eventually you're going to have demand for support services as all these get active, which leads to more traffic and infrastructure requirements for us or for the city. And a lot of these are not even in the county, they're in the city, correct?
Correct.
So,
And housing also.
right. And so, that's another reason why, the city needs to collaborate more, be more willing to talk, be more willing to engage, to be more willing to listen. Okay? I'll just say that. We can't be a one-way street here. He said there's 9 that are under 9 more in addition to the 18. And where are those at? Could we get a map at some point so everyone can see where those are at? And then how many more are potentially there? Because one of the concerns is, our industrial park or our zoning areas, maybe we need to look at how we have those zoned. Maybe we don't want all of that area zoned for warehousing. Maybe we want it zoned for manufacturing or data centers down the road that we don't have yet, but in 5 years we may be getting. So those are just some ideas, and we've talked about that, but the public needs to know we're trying to walk through this problem set and get to a point where we can best leverage the land that's still available. And then lastly, agriculture depends on a certain density of agriculture. For the service industry, the tractor, the maintenance, the dairy processors, you need a certain density of agriculture here to be sustainable. Otherwise, it starts to erode from within and then it collapses, as we've seen in counties to the east. So we need to be very vigilant about protecting actual farmland. And I know Scott Boggs and the staff are working on that. And we've discussed this here amongst ourselves, and I think we're going to have some initiatives in that regard. Recently, we just voted to change the prioritization for ag preservation land. Rather than it being prioritized farther away from the urban growth zone, we voted to prioritize conservation in areas closer to the urban growth zone. So there's a lot going on. I think one of the deficits here, in addition to what Wayne said, is getting that information out to the public so that they understand contextually what's going on.
It's always a challenge due to confidentiality. It's a kind of we split the hair on that.
But the big picture stuff and that we're actually working it. So those are my comments. I applaud the work that you guys are doing. And I truly appreciate the work of all the other commissioners who I think we're all on pretty much the same place for wanting to find that sweet spot, that balance.
Yeah, I would agree with most of everything that was said, with the exception of a couple things. I think one hypothetical answer would be if somebody's in a development area, highway interchange, they wanted to down zone, clap, good for you. If you want to down zone, it's your property down zone. What I won't do is take somebody and change their zoning to stop their investment in their own property. So that's something I will avoid. But other than that, I mean, I think there's some outlets to, help a little bit with maybe we've down zoned before. And it's my property, I want a downzone, fine, but don't downzone me unless I ask, so.
Yeah, the ones that are in due diligence, I would caution any drastic change.
Yep.
There's the amount of money that is invested before anybody sees before the first tree comes down or the property changes hands from a farmer to a developer, there's millions of dollars been spent poking holes in the ground, making sure that the traffic impact studies aren't going to impact the roads poorly. Or if a traffic impact study indicates that a road's not able to handle it, then we'll require the developer to make an investment to improve that infrastructure for the county. So there are opportunities for the county to strengthen our position in terms of infrastructure and amenities to the public through these developments as well, too. So we do pursue all that.
Good job. I appreciate it, John. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, guys?
Thank you, Jonathan.
Thank you.
I will say once again, Chris Boggs did a fantastic job explaining the agricultural side of it to leadership for Washington County last Friday morning, and it was very encouraging, so.
Yeah, Chris does a great job, so I love having him as a partner. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Michelle?
Okay. Since our next meeting isn't until 11/28, November the 28th, we potentially will need to have second staff comments to approve any personnel matters that are being discussed today in closed session. I have one change to the agenda. The contract award for Smithsburg wastewater treatment upgrades at 1050 will need to be pulled and moved until November the 28th. There was an issue with the funding on the budget adjustment, so we'll bring that back on the 28th. A couple of meetings ago, Kelsey Mace was appointed as our Chief Financial Officer. I forgot to mention it last week. She began employment with the county in 2014. She was promoted to the Deputy Director of Budget and Finance in 2018. Just a few weeks ago, she was appointed as our Chief Financial Officer, and I'd like to congratulate her on this achievement, and I look forward to working with her. Just some of the things that I've done over the last 2 weeks. I was given a tour of the facilities at the town of Smithsburg by the mayor, Donnie Souders, and town manager, Brian Brandt. I did attend the last comp plan meeting in Williamsport. We've already mentioned this a couple of times, but on November the 1st, we hosted Secretary Day and his Department of Housing and Community Development staff, as well as local officials. This event was coordinated by Michelle Preby and Dawn Marcus, and I'd like to thank both of them for their hard work to plan this event. They did an excellent job, and it was a great success. As part of the event, we gave personnel a tour of local housing and community health projects here in Hagerstown, as well as a tour of the Ritchie Museum, small businesses, community improvements, and housing projects in Cascade at Fort Ritchie. This day was an opportunity for the community partners and stakeholders to discuss the needs of Washington County residents and businesses. I also attended the Land Use Council meeting where our new Director of Permits and Inspections, Greg Cartrett, was introduced and welcomed. I also attended the annual pre-legislative forum where county commissioners were able to present their legislative initiatives for the 2024 session of the General Assembly that will begin in January. Those requests were previously discussed by the board and included increases to our bond allocation that will enable the county to issue general obligation bonds for capital projects related to schools, roads, bridges, buildings, and other infrastructure projects. Needed changes to our procurement spending caps and changes to the treasurer position to make that an appointed position. There will be no meeting for the next 2 weeks. Just a reminder that the next meeting is on November the 28th. And the last item I have would be staff would like to recommend that Chip Rose be appointed as the Director of Human Resources at a grade 19, step 19, with an annual salary of $144,186 and a start date of November the 20th, 2023. And I'll need a motion for that.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you.
Okay, that's everything I have for the staff comments.
Okay, thank you. Next up is citizens' participation, and I will say that normally I'm very lenient with the 3-minute timeline for citizens' participation, but this morning, in light of, we are behind schedule, I'm going to hold to the 3 minutes pretty sternly. This is an opportunity for citizens to comment about an issue or issues of county practices and interests. This is not an interactive dialogue or question and answer session. It is solely time to hear from citizens' comments. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes or less. Thank you. Holly? Good morning.
Good morning. I hope you don't mind if I stand.
Go right ahead.
Thank you. I'm here this morning as a disabled citizen here in Washington County to thank the commissioners for finally putting on the chamber's doors, entering the chambers here, a push button that will open automatically for those of us in the county who are disabled that can come to these meetings. I know that that door was a heavy door and prevented a lot of our disabled people from coming to the meetings. So those of you out there in the county, we do have that. It's a state-of-the-art push button, by the way, which I was glad to see that this is the first one installed in the county. We're looking forward to 2 others being installed at the Commission on Aging relative to the fitness room that we dedicated to not too long ago out there. So those of our citizens who are handicapped and seniors who use our fitness room, please be aware that pretty soon we're going to have that state-of-the-art push button out there to allow easier accessibility to the fitness room. I would like to thank Mr. Scott Hobbs, the engineering department, relative to his work in putting together the various information concerning disabled areas of our facilities out there that will be addressed as soon as that report is finalized and given to the commissioners, along with Mr. Andrew Echelon for his steadfastness in approving the door here and at the senior center. Thank you for those county employees, and we in the disabled community appreciate what has been done.
Thank you. Thank you, Paul. Other citizen participation?
Good morning, Phillips, Summit Avenue, Hagerstown, Maryland. I would like to actually thank the county and the city for increased security. You know, we have a lot of construction sites going on right now, and we have really important historic properties wedged in between there, like the Herald Mill and some of our very older buildings. And this creates a lot of challenges in terms of traffic, parking, and such. I've seen people, you know, they're having to direct traffic around into the other lanes, some streets having a hard time to be getting onto. I've seen a really good practice in other areas with mixed-use parking meters. They also do mixed-use housing where they have certain in one building, low income and moderate and different pricing. They also have parking meters that can take the pay cards or phone app and also take coins. I think this would be really helpful. You know, I did ask for increased security from the city, the county, and the state with engineers on site monitoring. When you have multiple projects going on in a small condensed area, there can be more challenges. And I've actually seen increased security, police officers, over at St. Mary's this morning, public and private. This is fantastic. In terms of crime, crime tends to go up with increased population, more people in small areas. 2, it tends to go up when the economy is challenged. And 3, with the advent of the internet, cybercrime has become a huge challenge to our law enforcement. We want them to be able to be proactive. We have to help limit that. The phone option only for parking meters, people are using their phones for everything. I think the coin and phone is great. Now, implementing in your open parking spaces, maybe different colors, multi-use, and giving explanation. Last, on Veterans Day, I want to highlight Mac. Mac was probably 80 years old, African-American in this community. He lived somewhere near where you used to have the concert series. Reminded me a lot of my dad. He was not a well man. I saw him out in the community in his scrubs with his hospital bracelet, still coming to enjoy these activities. And one day, he seemed unresponsive over at the cold weather shelter at Reach during COVID. There was a tent up, 3 nurses, no identification. They did not seem to want to be identified. I asked if one of them could help him because he wasn't responding, and they said, no, we can't. I don't think they were Emeritus or USMH. I don't know where they were visiting from. 2 days later, he was on the same spot, and an ambulance came. I've never seen him again. Now, I want to point out at one time, I considered suggesting we take the tagline, City of Neighborly Love, because I want you to understand, Mac lived a very seemingly happy life, and despite of physical and health challenges, with the support of the entire community, a veteran. Remind me a lot of my father. Not well, physically in pain, but he got out and he lived every single day. We have smaller families now. We need stronger communities. I saw him down there enjoying that concert series one night in his scrubs, and I saw Angie and Lisa, ladies living under the bridge, well supported by the community. And that's what I want us to focus on. We've got people coming into the community doing things that are not in the best interest and not good for our reputation. And lastly, I want to thank you again for the increased security. I am looking into getting you corporate sponsorship. You cannot have too much proactive, visible security, especially for our school-age children.
Thank you, Mrs. Phillips. Next up is Williamsport Library. Mayor and library staff.
Morning, gentlemen. How's everybody going? Well, basically, most of what's been going on with our library in town. And over the years, we've had a good relationship with the county and sharing in the cost of keeping those library doors open. Lately, the mold has shut it down for the entire summer, and it's still closed. The library, she had taken the reins on getting some cost estimates on what the cost would be. And we're just here to ask once again to help share in the cost of having this mold removed and getting those doors back open. It is one of the most heavily used libraries in the county.
Baxter Group's guaranteeing to get rid of the mold?
They are.
Yeah, I'd motion to approve.
Second.
Any other? We have a motion and a second on the floor. Any other?
Motion.
I would just like to add that I spoke to our CFO about a potential funding source, and we recommend CIP reserves to fund the request of $15,000. Or $40,000, sorry, $39,065. I'm sorry, I read the wrong number.
Any other questions, comments before I call for a vote? All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Enjoy the rest of your day, gentlemen.
I apologize, I got a little jumpy there. I'll go back to citizens' participation. Did I overlook anyone? Any other citizens' participation? Good morning. If you'll give us your name and address for the record, please.
Good morning. My name is Mary Herringa, and I'm here with the Washington County Teachers Association. Our address for our office is 18047 in Oak Ridge Drive in Hagerstown. And even though you skipped ahead, that cuts my report or my comment short, because I was, on a personal note, I was going to ask for the funding to be approved for the Williamsport Library. So I'm very happy that that happened already. Next week is American Education Week. Celebrated since 1921, American Education Week is a time to thank and celebrate our educators, be they teachers, social workers, custodians, bus drivers, counselors, administrators, therapists, and so many more. I hope you'll take some time next week to thank our amazing educators. WCTA again invites you to come into the schools to see the great things that are happening. Education has changed so much in the past few years. This year, our elementary teachers have new language arts curriculum. Our secondary schools have new supplemental instruction to meet the ever-changing needs of our students. And there's a focus on building positive relationships with students and creating a welcoming and positive environment for all of our students. And we hope that you will contact WCTA and we can set up visits soon. Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. Citizens' participation? Yes, sir.
Follow up on that. My name's Kevin Alden. I'm a teacher at Washington County Schools. I live at 17022 Castle Hill Road. Been teaching here about 15 years. I'm also a veteran. Used the old GI Bill to get my degree. I've taught in Texas, Colorado, Washington, D.C. when wife was at Walter Reed and DeMatha Catholic High School. So I come here today and not part of the union. I came on my own. Teaching is becoming more and more difficult. And 5 or 6 months ago, I know we met at HCC. I thought there were a number of great speakers really asking you gentlemen to okay the budget for our pay raise. And unfortunately, we lost 3-2. Morale is low. Morale is low. And now that you've suddenly $25 million windfall about 6 weeks ago, I'm not seeing any kind of comment like, wow, maybe we could funnel some to our teachers. We're losing first-year teachers at a tremendous rate right now. That's going to be the backbone, and they're not going to be there. Senior teachers like me, I'm not a great teacher. I build relationships, okay? Just like what she said. So a lot of the students, yeah, I'm out there fist bumping and everything like that. But even the students realize what we're trying to do. We're trying to compensate for COVID, and that is a tremendous loss, and it's impacted our students. So at a time when you need good teachers, you can't lose these teachers to other industries because the pay is not commensurate with what they're having to do. So I implore upon you guys, think. Pro-education, we got two people on this board, pro-education. We got 3 that voted no. Other actions we can take, I don't know. We're just imploring you to do the right thing for our students, for our schools. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Alden. Okay. Any other citizens' participation this morning? Last call. Okay. With that, we'll move on to the next item, which is Washington County Department of Social Services Agency Review.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It's my pleasure to join you this morning to discuss the Washington County Department of Social Services. My name is Tiffany Rexroad, and I'm the director of the agency. I was appointed a year ago and appreciate the support shown by the county and other agency partners throughout this past year. The date of November 7th, today, is especially important to me and holds a special place It was the same date in 2001, 22 years ago, that I started my career here in Washington County. Today, we plan to review our fiscal year 23 annual report, discuss current initiatives, consider anticipated changes in the upcoming year, and examine our strategies to address and prevent risk to the agency. I would like to introduce to you members of our advisory board who are here with me today. Ms. Bridget Jones-Smith, David Poole, and Erica Bell. It's also my pleasure to introduce members of our executive staff who are with me today, who will help in our presentation and are available to answer any questions that you may have. Jennifer Kane is our Assistant Director for Administration. James Gossard is our Assistant Director for Child Support. Josh Bond, our Assistant Director for Family Investment. Amanda Bishop is our Assistant Director for Services. And Amy Robinson is our Fiscal Director. I want to begin with a brief review of our fiscal year 23 annual report, which hopefully you have received electronically, and it's my pleasure to present a hard copy to you as well. We have focused on the strategic areas of customer service, communication, community partnership, and the recruitment, retention, and recognition of staff. In a challenging hiring environment, we are proud to have reduced our total vacancy rate to 5.3%. We have streamlined our recruitment process to the extent that is within our control and have focused on staff morale, retention, and recognition. We want the Washington County Department of Social Services to be the employer of first choice. We have continued to advance our partnership with other providers and have begun to offer services and outreach to outlying communities. Because we are mobile and our systems are mobile, we can provide answers in real time and we're able to take applications on site, thereby reducing the need for customers to come to the office. We want to take a few minutes to highlight the services we provide at the Department of Social Services. Our assistant directors are going to speak specifically to their divisions.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Josh Bond. I'm the Assistant Director for Family Investment. Family Investment administers multiple state and federally funded programs. Eligibility for each program varies and is determined by financial and technical requirements, including age, household composition, employment status, and housing costs. Applicants are required to provide all necessary information that is then verified before eligibility can be determined. Some of our specific programs include temporary cash assistance, temporary disability assistance program, emergency assistance to families with children, and supplemental nutrition assistance program, which supplements the household's food budget by providing additional benefits. Unique to Washington County is our 2-Gen coordinator position, who helps link clients with services such as housing, transportation, and benefit programs outside of the agency to better support self-sufficiency and child welfare prevention. 4 clients participated in the Public Assistance to Entrepreneurship program. We offered 2 job opportunity bus shuttles in order to assist low-income households with transportation to and from workplace and child care facilities. We also operated the Hopewell Express transportation program in conjunction with the Community Action Council to assist individuals seeking employment who are already employed. Thank you.
Good morning. My name is James Gossard. I'm the Assistant Director for Child Support. In fiscal year 23, we were able to serve over 5,500 cases in our county, which resulted in collecting over $10 million in child support payments and arrears. We also provide the following services. Locating non-custodial parents is imperative to continue the process in getting children the support they deserve. Staff use an array of automated tools provided by the state and federal government to locate non-custodial parents as well as their sources of income and assets. Through DNA testing, which can be completed at our local office, we can establish paternity to assure basic rights to the child, such as inheritance and Social Security benefits. Along with paternity and enforcement, court order for child support must be established. Enforcement and modification are also important functions. Automatic earnings withholdings continue to be an important tool in the enforcement of child support orders. When other enforcement tools are not successful, our specialists will file for contempt of court. Finally, unique to Washington County is our County Alliance Program for Employment. This is available to non-custodial fathers and offers job readiness and employment support services. Fiscal year 23, 21 non-custodial parents participated in the program, and $12,567 was paid towards child support cases from individuals who became employed through the program.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Amanda Bishop, the Assistant Director for the Adult, Child, and Family Services Division. We have a number of social work and case management services to provide safety and well-being to adults, children, and families. The Adult Services Unit provides a range of case management, foster care, and aid services, including personal, respite, care, and chore services to disabled adults aged 18 years and older. All services are designed to help vulnerable adults meet their basic needs in the least restrictive settings consistent with their health and safety. Adult services are voluntary except for adult protective services. APS investigates reports of abuse, neglect, exploitation, or self-neglect of vulnerable adults. And we would like to note the increase of financial exploitation of vulnerable adults in Washington County. Child Protective Services provides assessment services to children who are believed to be abused or neglected by their parents or their caretakers, with the goal of protection and intervention to improve family functioning. In fiscal year '23, we completed safety assessments for 3,591 children, including 124 substance-exposed newborns. 59 children required out-of-home placement. We achieved permanency for 4 children through adoption, and we achieved permanency for 5 children through the Guardianship Assistance Program. We recruit, train, and license foster parents in Washington County. The goal of a resource home is to be a supportive resource not only for the child in care, but to their family in its entirety. In fiscal year '23, 11 new homes were licensed, and we have a total of 58 agency-licensed resource homes. Family preservation services are critical to provide targeted interventions to mitigate child safety and risk concerns while allowing children to remain safely in their homes. We also offer kinship navigator services and resources to informal kinship caregivers to support and promote safety. I would like to draw your attention to several specialized intervention programs to support the safety in children, which are highlighted in our annual report. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you for having us today. My name is Jennifer Kane, and I'm the Assistant Director for our Local Government Administration Division. I'd like to take a moment to highlight the work that our administration division completes. In many ways, the staff in our division provide some of the most important work to the day-to-day success of our services. Our human resource team serves 227 employees in 3 agency locations in Washington County. This includes recruitment, employer-employee relations, grievance resolutions, disciplinary actions, timekeeping, and employment benefit administration. Our finance team, led by Amy Robinson here with us today, is comprised of 6 full-time employees who provide professional accounting management of fiscal operations, safeguards our assets, and ensures the accountability of the funds at our disposal. Our procurement office works to solicit and award procurement contracts, and staff maintain our agency fleet. Thank you.
So as we think about what's on the horizon for the agency and looking ahead, we want to continue to expand our connection to outlying communities. We're exploring opportunities with different areas of the county. Most importantly, we know we have to be ready to pivot to meet the needs of the community. We have expanded our recruitment efforts to increase the number of foster parents and adult care home providers we have in our community. We need more providers to ensure that youth and adults with special needs have access to safe placements here in Washington County. I'd like to share with you our strategies to address and prevent risk to the agency. As you know, in September, the agency received a copy of the audit report conducted by the Department of Human Services Office of the Inspector General, and covered the period December 1st, 2017 through March 31st, 2022. The audit addresses both program and fiscal considerations, and it is critical to note that there were no repeat audit findings for the agency. Throughout the time period when the auditors were present, they were communicating with staff, and we have already developed a plan to address each of the findings. In fact, many of the findings have already been resolved. We are thankful for an audit process which helps us understand opportunities to improve, and in partnership with DHS, we are putting together measures to reduce statewide findings in the future, such as updating a fiscal manual and streamlining the procurement process. We do want to point out that none of the audit findings were due to unethical or illegal behaviors. There were no inappropriate expenses, and the fiscal audit findings were not related to any of the funding provided by the county. Additionally, we work closely with our central audit compliance and quality improvement team to ensure that we are meeting required timeframes. Because Washington County had no repeat audit findings, the next steps would be for them to conduct the next triennial audit, tentatively scheduled for April 2025. It's my understanding that if time permits, OIG may conduct a follow-up if resources are available and they can determine a time. Finally, we just want to say that we have appreciated the ongoing partnership from the county, which specifically supports several programs that would not exist without your generous financial support. The Washington County Family Center provides a variety of services designed to empower expectant parents and families with children aged birth to 4 to become self-sufficient through personal achievement, education, and positive parenting. Dad's Connection supports local non-custodial fathers through case management services and increased community partnerships for employment opportunities. In fiscal year 23, 13 non-custodial fathers received case management and employment services, 5 of which obtained employment at more than $15 an hour. The Safe Place Child Advocacy Center provides a multidisciplinary team approach to the investigation, prosecution, and treatment of sexual abuse and/or severe physical abuse. The Safe Place is the only nationally accredited child advocacy center in Washington County, and the Safe Place is one of the few in the state that offer on-site forensic medical exams, therapy, and victim advocacy services to children and their non-offending caregiver. Adult foster care assists aged or disabled adults who are unable to live alone but do not yet require nursing home or hospital care. The program provides a moderately supervised adult foster care situation with the support and security of a family setting. Because of your generous funding, in fiscal year 23, you helped 19 individuals meet the total cost of their care, respite day program costs, and assisted an average of 7 individuals per month with funding. And finally, our Family School Partnership, which also includes support from the Washington County Public School System, is a supplemental student support program that targets elementary school students having areas of need related to academics, attendance, behavior, and family support. It's now my pleasure to turn the remaining time to our board chair, Ms. Bridget Jones-Smith.
Good morning. My name is Bridget Jones-Smith. I am the chairman of the Board of Advisors to the Department of Social Services. We are the citizens that you all appoint to help the board move forward for the good of the committee. I'd like to tell you a little bit about our board. We have comprised citizens from different segments of our community. I consider myself an at-large member of the board. We also have David Poole, who is there, who represents the business community. He is one of our longest-serving advisors. We also have on our board Cindy Brown, who represents the faith and senior community in the county. Shannon Gangs, who has close connections with school-age parent population. Dana Pentatoni, who is from the Board of Education. Laditra Robinson, who also has connection with homeless and women's community. Marcy Correa, who is experienced with local and international nonprofits. And Erica Bell, who's one of our newer members, who's also here today, who has the lived experience of being a customer of the Department of Social Services. We also, of course, have Commissioner Kiefer, who's our ex officio member. He's active with our board. He's a liaison between our Board of Advisors and you all, the county commissioners. And he keeps us connected with county government affairs. We are an organized Board of Advisors, and we meet monthly with the exceptions of July and August. We have a calendar of events that include resuming monthly meetings in September, reviewing and approving the department's county budget request in November for submission in January. When there are vacancies on our board, we start advertising for new members in February and in March. We assemble a recruitment committee, collect applications, conduct interviews, check references, and report to the board. And in April, the recruitment committee makes recommendations for the vote that is taken in May. The Department of Social Services is a vital organization, and so we take all of the members that we are considering very seriously. We also, in the summer, we recess. When we convene, we recess in the summer. In June, we recognize departing members and introduce new members of the board. During the summer recess, the director's evaluation is completed by the executive committee. Our commissioners' luncheon is held in December next month to give the department the opportunity to share with you all some of the programs and customer success stories. It's an opportunity for members of this body to actually see and hear citizens who represent the return on the investment you all made when you approved funding for various programs. And we're looking forward to seeing you all next month. Prior to the legislative session, our advisory board receives updates on bills that the Maryland Association of Social Services Bureaus may have interest in. These updates are to educate us and also to give us, the locality, an opportunity to give input if a bill will have an adverse impact on us. Sometimes what's good on the Eastern Shore might not be good for us. And so we take that opportunity, once we hear pending legislation, to give our input as to the impact that it might have on our community. We also have the opportunity to communicate the need for legislation on issues that arise here in the western part of the state. Our Board of Advisors is active in the Maryland Association of Social Services Bureaus, and our members attend meetings and the annual conference. This year, it was held in Montgomery County with the theme of foster care, with emphasis on both youth and adult foster care. During our monthly meetings, the board hears reports similar to what you heard today from the department heads and other staff regarding the status of various programs, including successes and challenges. We ask questions about information that's being presented, and we compare and contrast it to what we may have heard in the community when appropriate. We also receive information regarding topics we have been asked about from the community. At the meetings, we also learn of other department activities such as security updates, physical improvements to the facility, employee morale, personnel updates, etc. We are guided by bylaws. One of our current initiatives is to increase transparency and visibility. One of the things we find is that sometimes citizens don't know that there is an advisory board to the department. And so one of our goals is to make sure that citizens know that we are there and that we are there for them. To that end, I and other board members have successfully completed the Open Meetings Act training course and are moving to have our board fully compliant. We are also making preparation to launch a board Facebook page to increase community awareness of the board and to increase citizen engagement. And I welcome any questions.
Bridget and Tiffany and Dave, thank you for being here. It's incredibly important, the work you do, and I'm impressed by the number of activities, the quality of the report that you provided us, and I need to understand what resource homes actually are, and I guess it's in here. You know, maybe you could briefly describe it for me, and then I have a follow-up question.
Sure. Thank you very much for the question. So resource homes was a switch in language. We used to just say foster homes or foster parents.
Okay.
And foster parenting implied that once we removed a child, the child was in that foster environment and the focus was specifically on the child. As we have shifted to a family-centered engagement, the term resource parents is used interchangeably with foster parents so that we can help our providers understand that they're not just a resource to the child in their home, but they're a resource perhaps to the birth family, maybe extended family, and they're a resource to our agency. And so it's just a language flip. We have understood that it is confusing in the public when people don't always understand that language. And so we have also been more intentional about using foster parents or adult care providers, just to be really crystal clear so that people know what we're doing.
Good, thank you. And then a lot of activity, a lot of good work. I talk to people who use your services, and, it's, again, I can't emphasize that enough. But from each of you, what is the most critical shortfall you would like to have addressed? Be it for children or, family dynamics or financing, each of you, whether it's state funded or federal funded or county funded, but what is the one thing that you would like to have addressed over the next year? Just independent views, not necessarily the board's view, but.
One of the things that I think needs to be addressed, not so much that requires money, is communication and visibility. Tiffany is doing a great job in being transparent, but there needs to be more outreach and more communication between the citizens of Washington County. Because again, we sit here in meetings like this and we hear this great information. It's great information, they're doing a great job. But a lot of times there's a disconnect between the citizens who need those services.
So we can't quite penetrate to the community where you need to provide the service.
That's an area.
Okay,
yes.
good. Tiffany?
I would say my answer to that question has changed over the past year. Where I would have said our biggest need was around our staffing, because a year ago we were in double-digit vacancy rate. We've been really intentional around that. So I feel much better about recruitment, retention, recognition, efforts of staff, because we need great staff to do good work. So I still feel that's incredibly important, and I agree, communication, that's been a focus. We've also been really talking about customer service and what that means for when people come to our agency or when we're in communities. And if we can go out to communities, we can reduce access barriers for people. I don't know that I specifically have a funding request around what that may look like. I feel, we do leverage resources federally, state, and local. And in many ways, our agency, we have a resources, that we can do good work. But I think that we have to continue talking about how we serve the public. How do we respond to community partners? How do we address the needs as they change? Because they really do change very quickly in our work.
So the business practices and how you do your business is what, you both have addressed in one way or the other. What's your staffing gap right now? Or do you have any unfilled positions?
Very few. We have, within child support, we have 2 vacancies which we are in the process of hiring for. We are checking references. Within family investment, we have about 4 contractual vacancies that we have currently, and 2 of those we have interviews scheduled for. And in services, I believe we have maybe 2 or 3 vacancies at this point. Relatively low compared to where we were a year ago.
And David?
I started my service on the board back in 2007, and I've served twice as chairperson for the board. I'll be ending my service on the board in June. And I think it's time for some new, fresh.
Where's the party?
It's been a great opportunity for me to serve our community. The greatest concern I have is your continued support of the financial program, the programs that you fund financially. I know that it's getting more and more difficult to be able to do what you want to do with the funds that you have. We deeply appreciate the support you've given us in the past, and I'm hoping that it will continue in the future.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. You guys did great. I have one quick question. With the way the economy's going and our fundings from Annapolis and government and federal funds, are you anticipating any kind of cutback in your funding at all?
So I think we don't know yet. I think it's my understanding that they could look a couple different ways. And we heard yesterday, I was also present at the pre-legislative session yesterday, and I think our elected officials in the county were very clear that, I think someone said, it's very lean, and that they knew that there could be some budget difficulty going forward. So the honest answer for me is, I don't know.
Okay. It's a concern.
Yes.
Just a couple comments. Thank you for the work you do, Tiffany, and to your colleagues, Bridget and Mr. Poole. You're going to get Mr. Poole, I'm sorry. I've had an opportunity to serve on your board. I've been a resource parent myself, so I've seen that perspective of things too. And the work you do is really important in our community because you deal with really the most vulnerable and fragile adults and children in our community, and your goal is always to make them less fragile. Help them be more prepared for the real world. And thank you for doing that. I love in your program here, you list all the community partners you partner with. That's great. There's a few on here, several I'm not familiar with. So I'm glad that you're reaching out into the community. One of the things that I hear, it was touched on a little bit today, some concerns with education today. Things like student behavior, truancy, I don't think that was mentioned today, but I've spoken to the superintendent about that. Just lack of parental involvement, that's something that our educators are facing, and that's something that I would love to see an expanded partnership with DSS, Washington County Public Schools, and trying to tackle some of those issues. I think that would be a great partnership. Their clientele many times are your clientele, your families that you help serve. So I'd love to see any kind of expanded opportunities there, but thank you for your service in the community, and it's really important. The Dad's Connection program, I know a couple years ago, Tiffany, you started in 2001, but you've been director for about a year now. I believe it was in November is when you were appointed, November of last year as director. The Dad's Connection program, a couple years ago, the state pulled funding for that program, and the county commissioners, we backfilled some of that funding. And I love to put ROI on projects sometimes, return on investment, and the tens of thousands of dollars that we supply for that program, I think definitely over the years, hundreds of thousands of dollars in additional child support revenues that have come in, helping to find that non-custodial parent, maybe find their first job or maybe find a higher paying job. And then that translates into less of a strain on the social system. And that's a good thing. I love to see projects like that. Maybe if we can help with another one or expand that somehow, I think that would be great. So thank you.
Anything else? Again, thank you. Thank you for a good update.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, I need a motion to convene as the Board of Health.
Motion.
A motion, we have a second. Okay, motion and second to convene as the Board of Health. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, 5-0. Thank you. And with that, we have Adolescent Clubhouse, Horizon Goodwill Industries. Good morning.
Good morning. Earl Stoner, Health Officer of Washington County Health Department.
Vicki Sterling, Director of Behavioral Health, Washington County Health Department.
So thank you for the opportunity to come before you today. We are here seeking a recommendation to approve a contract to Horizon Goodwill Industries in the amount of $258,137 to basically fund the Adolescent Clubhouse, which is for all youth in Washington County ages 11 to 16. It really gets into providing case management services, peer recovery support, workshops, educational opportunities, family engagement, and other volunteer and service opportunities throughout the community. It is funded by the Department of the Behavioral Health Administration through the Maryland Health Department, and it doesn't have any fiscal impact for the county. So as I mentioned, we are here to seek approval, a recommendation for approval from the commissioners to move forward with that.
Motion to approve.
Can I just ask a question? Well, go ahead.
Let's do a second, and I'll second.
Second, okay, question.
So where's the point of delivery of these services?
On Prospect Street at the Goodwill Horizon Building.
Okay, so, and then how do you get the services delivered to the age groups 11 to 16 if they're in Boonesboro or in Hagerstown or Hancock?
That has been a limitation. They do have a van that they can use, but that has been a huge limitation. So they really have only been able to serve youth that are in the city limits.
Okay. And is there anything in this contract that's targeted at broadening the reach?
Not under the current funding amount. However, we are allowed and we can use their peer support specialist, which they have a youth peer support specialist, and we can make referrals to them. Plus, we add additional services within our agency through our transitional age youth program. So we have a peer designated to them. Really, the Adolescent Clubhouse is to address youth that are using substances or youth that are at risk for using substances. So what the Adolescent Clubhouse can't reach within their limitations of funding and resources, we're able to sort of help out with that and do that outreach ourselves.
Do we have, Earl, do we have any understanding of the scope of the problem that is beyond the point of delivery in the outlying communities? And maybe with the school system, do we have an answer to that?
So yeah, what we're seeing is most of the overdose youth events are within city limits. However, the next area which has the highest would be Williamsport. So we have done some programming with the high schools. We actually, help support Stephen Hill doing a presentation at Williamsport High School. We do outreach to youth overdoses daily. When we get the reports, we meet with them within 24 hours. We also have the Student Assistance Program, which is any youth that is at risk or suspected of being at risk of using substances. So that could mean vaping, mental health, alcohol use, marijuana use. They're referred to us. We do a full evaluation and then refer them to services. I will say within the county, we are lacking across the board adolescent services. So any kind of service, no matter where it is a huge plus for our community. We only have 2 providers that provide adolescent substance use services, and they only provide it to youth with Medicaid. We don't have any certified programs that provide services to private insurance. So there's a large gap for our youth in the community that are using.
So last question, it seems like there's an intersection, Earl. We just had the social services people here. It intersects, I think, broadly with a number of their areas of concern because they're dealing with the effects of it, as well as the school system that has to deal with it. So how are you guys bridging that to make sure there's better collaboration?
So I meet with the school board every other month, and we talk about how we can share programming. In the spring and in the fall, we have program or tables set up at lunch, and we do drug-free pledges. We do a lot of programming with the school. We are very active with DSS. We actually have several programs stationed in DSS, one being our START program, which is another acronym that I have to remember, Sobriety, Treatment, and Recovery Team, START. So this is a peer support specialist that works in family preservation, and they work with families to enter treatment and navigate the system while keeping the family intact. We also have a person that does all the assessments through temporary cash assistance.
Okay, so a lot of activity, but maybe you could get back to us with what the metric might be for actually gauging or evaluating impact?
Sure.
Sure.
Yeah, that's probably very hard to do, but.
It can be difficult because we're dealing with a lot of different sort of siloed grant funding opportunities that come down, but we can get something together, and get something back to you.
Thank you so much for what you're doing.
It sounds to me like you guys have the right desire, the right intentions, doing everything you should be doing. It's just back to the same old thing, money and humans to drive the programs. You know, it's just, you know, you do what you can with what you got.
Yeah,
I do appreciate that.
Just to tag on to that, we just in general as a department have struggled, especially since the pandemic, with staffing. and in particular, which is getting better, but in particular with morale, burnout. It's been a big struggle for us. So we're just now kind of getting back on our feet, so to speak, and getting back to normal activities.
Let's hope for more normal.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. We have a
Oh, we got
motion.
the,
Yeah,
we had a second, yeah.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second on the floor, ready to vote. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you.
Motion to
We
reconvene
need,
is
yes, we need a motion to reconvene as Washington County Board of County Commissioners.
Motion.
Second? Yep.
Okay, all in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Back as the Board of County Commissioners. Next item is Adolescent Clubhouse. No.
Collective
Oh,
bargaining.
I'm sorry. I'm getting behind here. Collective bargaining agreement with ASME. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm Eric Paultel, outside Labor Council to Washington County, and I'm going to give everybody a quick overview of the completion of collective bargaining negotiations that took place this year between the county and local 2677 of AFSCME. It used to be called AFSCME Council 67. Now it's AFSCME Council 3 because of a merger with a Washington area local. This union represents employees in the county's highways, departments, solid waste, transit, emergency communications center, and water quality collections and maintenance. About 152 employees in total that are in the bargaining unit. What we did this year, which was different from prior negotiations with Local 2677, is we did a complete revision to the collective bargaining agreement. We looked at a lot of things that were out of date, inconsistent, obsolete. First time we'd done that since the year 2008. So we cleaned up a lot of stuff in there, but we ultimately got to agreement on a 3-year contract covering fiscal years 24 through 26. That's July 1, 23 to June 30 of 2026. Just some key highlights that were agreed to. First and foremost, probably at the forefront of most people's concern, is the pay adjustment. We did as I think you all are well aware of, we already had committed to a 2.5% step increase and a 1% cost of living adjustment for employees. And in addition to that, we agreed to an additional 1% increase in pay that came as a result of the increase in start pay, the start rate for employees on the low end of the pay scale. This is intended to make us more competitive and assist us in recruiting folks to come work for the county. So that takes effect retroactive back to July 8th of this year. In fiscal years 25 and 26, employees will get the same step increase and same cost of living adjustment as other county employees. The total cost of this pay adjustment is $504,778. In addition to that pay adjustment, there were some other economic changes in the CBA. We agreed to, for the first time, provide premium pay for hours worked on holidays. So employees now get time and a half if they actually work on a holiday, a recognized county holiday. The cost of that is about $58,000. The second economic change we made was to increase the meal allowance for employees who are called in early or held over after their shift, or alternatively, they are required to work in severe weather or some other declared county emergency. That allowance increased from $8.25, where it's hard to buy a meal these days for that kind of money, up to $15. The cost of this adjustment is about $15,500. Third change was to provide for reimbursement for employees who purchase new footwear. This would be a reimbursement of up to $125 annually. That would be mainly for boots, but also for employees in transit who are getting new shoes for driving. The employee actually has to make the purchase first and submit for reimbursement. The cost for that is a little less than $16,000. We added in on-call pay for water quality collections employees. They'll get $20 a day for each day that they are on call, and $40 if they're on call for weekends or holidays. That's a little less than $10,000. We've added paid lunch periods, so the employees now will get paid lunch for the first time. 30 minutes in duration for folks in transit. That might be up to 60 minutes depending upon the route they're driving. That's about $33,000 in cost. And then lastly, we increased the amount of personal leave employees are able to get from 48 hours to 60 hours. The cost for that is $20,000 for that change. So that is the highlight of the economics. There were some other non-economic changes made, for example, giving us more flexibility in hiring so that we can advertise both internally and externally at the same time. Again, these changes were intended to help us in the competitive marketplace now to recruit folks to come work for the county. So I'm happy to answer any questions you all may have about the CBA.
You know, there was a lot of work put into this by everybody, including the commissioners who sat in on a lot of the meetings. You know, I think it's good. I motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion and second. Comments?
If I could have some comments. So, Mr. Portel or maybe staff members here, you mentioned the 1% COLA. I don't see that mentioned in the ARF. The dollar amount provided, that's for all employees?
That's for all employees, that's correct.
Okay. Where is the, how are we doing a budget adjustment to account for this?
We were well aware of the negotiations that were taking place during the preparation of the fiscal year '24 budget. So we included that as part of our pension contribution, kind of hid it there. But now that interest revenue is performing better than we expected, I would recommend that we increase our interest revenue and leave our pension contribution amount as we have it budgeted for, so that we can improve our funded ratio.
Okay. So this was anticipated, and I'm not doubting that. I mean, as Commissioner Wagner said, this has been talked about for quite a while. We budgeted for something in a category that we knew we weren't going to be spending that on eventually. When we talk to our employees about how low our pension may be funded, and we tell them we're putting more money in to cover that, but our intent wasn't to really improve our pension funding. Our intent was to spend the money on something else, and we've had a couple adjustments from our pension fund. I'm just a little disappointed. I don't need a comment. I'm a little disappointed in that. Historically, Michelle, you have not been a proponent of changing our budget in ways that add to ongoing recurring expenses. Salary is something that certainly, you know, will have future ramifications for that in the future. What's different about this?
We were aware of this during the fiscal year '24 budget process. We incorporated the expenditure into a budget line item.
So the budget that we presented to our citizens wasn't accurate. We intended to use money in a different category than what we presented to our citizens. I find that very disappointing. I can agree with everything. I do have concerns about the 1% COLA increase. We gave a 9.5% in December. I fully supported that. We gave a 3.5% as we did our budget for this fiscal year that we're on now. I fully supported that. This will amount to a 14% increase. I appreciate the work our employees do. I know every organization has issues with staffing. I think our issue with staffing isn't just monetarily related. I'm worried about our budget. You know, we have heard concerns that money next year won't be as fruitful as it has been in the past. It's almost like we're setting our budget up for a failure. I have concerns about that. Just the mixed messages that we send to our taxpayers. I do support all of the other items, the 1% COLA additional. I hope our employees understand that we have been very generous with 13%. Did I mention that I reached out to the Chamber of Commerce just to see what local organizations in our community are doing for a given year, for the current year, and 2 to 5% is typical. I know there's some business owners here. I don't know. I have concerns.
I guess the answer to that would be that they're not up at 2 in the morning plowing snow, or they're not out fixing roads and broken sewer lines at all hours of the day and night. I guess that's more merit for a little bit more money. We see it all the time. I'm not trying to start an argument, but that's the way I see it, so.
That's not a bad argument. Different professions do have different obstacles that they have to deal with and contend with in their work. I certainly appreciate what's done. And, I've supported a 13% increase in less than a year for those reasons, but do we have concerns about our budget or not? My assumption is if we are approving this amount, then there's no further conversation about a need for a tax increase next year. That's the way I see it. I'm happy about that.
No, would like to say that the focus of this is on how many employees?
152.
Now, the 1% will affect everybody. I understand that. But
The 1% only affects employees in grades 6 through 11. It's not all employees.
And my concern from the time I ran and talked to people working in the county and through this negotiation is the people that are working and are part of this union are, by our scales, the ones that benefit the least from our percentage increases. We have too many people that are working hard, long hours, in difficult circumstances that are really being challenged to have a living salary, a living wage, if you will. Because I don't like it when we have people who, they have 2 kids and they're eligible for public assistance and food stamps. I can't reconcile that. So I want to target pay and benefits to the people that are making less than the median family income, okay? And, I think that's really important. Now, I understand the concerns about, the 1% and the impact, but when we're talking about other programs and needs for investment in our community, be it in capital projects or the schools or in social services, the courthouse, water problems and sewage problems, we've got an underinvestment in this county. And we could talk about this, we'll probably talk about it next month, but, we have to reconcile the realities of the needs of the community with what we currently receive. And if the community's fine and the board's fine with, underinvesting in our community and not taking care of the people in our community appropriately or employees, that's fine, But I know where I stand.
Just one final comment, a couple final comments. I don't think we'll ever have enough money, and I think we're overpromising everything that we want to do with what's feasible and what's realistic. During the last recession, we didn't have to lay off county employees. I wasn't part of that board. But we didn't have to lay off county employees. If we're not careful with our budget, that may affect all employees in future years, depending on how the economy goes. That may affect all employees. And I don't want to be in a position where, because we've grown expenses too fast, too quickly, that we can't cover all of our employees. And again, I'll just go back to the fact that we had an acknowledgement today that our budget as presented to our citizens was not what we intended. That's unacceptable.
We got a first and a second, John. Take it.
I'm ready to call for a vote. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patel.
Yeah, I just want to say that, this is the first time this contract's been negotiated in 15 years. And Carol and Sam, we appreciate your cooperation in getting us here today and your patience. Thank you.
Next item up is contract award, PUR 1641, local care team coordinator. Randy, good morning.
Morning, Brandy Nagelbarn, Purchasing Department.
Morning, Nicole Phillips, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
The first recommendation I have for you this morning is the contract award, PUR 1641, Local Care Team Coordinator. Move to award the contract for the Local Care Team Coordinator to the responsive bidder, KTA Advising Group LLC out of Beltsville, Maryland, in the amount of $54,000. The purpose of the service to be provided is to fulfill the requirements of the county's community partnership agreement for the fiscal year 2024 with the Governor's Office of Crime Prevention, Youth, and Victim Services. The award of the funds for the local care team coordinator shall commence upon the receipt of a fully executed contract between the Board of Washington County Commissioners and the awarded vendor. The awarded contract shall expire June 30th, 2024, with the option to renew up to 2 consecutive one-year periods ending in 2026. The RFP was advertised in the local newspaper, advertised on the county's website and the eMaryland Marketplace website. 33 companies downloaded the document. 3 providers were at the pre-bid conference, and we did receive 1 proposal. Funding from the Maryland Governor's Office for Children is available in the amount of $54,000 for these services.
Motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion second on the floor to approve is submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item is rejection of quote Q 23-763, purchase and installation of 1 new coiling steel door.
Brandy Nagelbarn, the Purchasing Department.
Joe Moss, Deputy Director of Engineering for Water Quality.
The last recommendation I have for you this morning is the rejection of quote Q 23-763, purchase and installation of 1 new coiling steel door. Move to take action in the best interest of the county and to request that the quote for the purchase of the door be rejected to exceeding the budget for this item. The department is currently looking at installing the door for county personnel. The request was listed on the state's website, the county's website, and a local newspaper. 13 companies downloaded the document, and we did receive 1 bid, which was over budget. So we would like to reject this and do it in-house.
Motion?
Motion
Second.
Motion second
to reject.
to reject as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Aye. 4-0.
Please
Thank
note
you.
that-
Thank you.
I'm sorry, Mr. Klein?
I just think, please note Commissioner Harvey had left.
Maryland 911 Board approval to accept awarded funding.
Good morning, Nicole Phillips, Senior Grant Manager, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Employee Director in 911.
We are here today for a motion to approve the acceptance of grant funds in the amount of $42,351.50 from the Maryland 911 Board. The awarded funding is for priority dispatch, annual maintenance, Aqua and ESP card set license renewals, and services and support costs. Priority dispatch provides emergency fire, medical, and policy protocols, and an Aqua program to perform quality assurance for the agency. There are no matching funds with this agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. 5-0. Thank you. Next item is the Edward J. Bryan Memorial Justice Assistance Grant approval to accept awarded funding.
Good morning, Nicole Phillips, Senior Grant Manager, Office of Grant Management.
Amy Miller, Washington County Sheriff's Office.
The Washington County Sheriff's Office is requesting approval to accept the BJAG program grant funding in the amount of $30,981. This funding will be used to purchase mobile data terminals, and surveillance equipment. The program will enhance the capabilities of the Criminal Investigations Unit with the ability to access vital information such as criminal history, outstanding warrants, vehicle registrations, and driver's license information from their vehicles, along with providing surveillance equipment to assist with investigations. The period is for 1 year, and there are no matching funds required with this agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion and second to approve as submitted. All in favor by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Thank you. Appreciate it. 5-0. Next item is potential dissolution of the Emergency Service Advisory Council known as ESAC. Michelle?
The Emergency Services Advisory Council Committee was formed to provide recommendations regarding the provision of emergency services in Washington County. This committee serves in an advisory capacity. The committee has no decision-making authority. 11 members serve on this committee, with one of those members being a county employee who is the Director of Emergency Services. Meetings are to be held monthly and are open to the public. The most recent revision to the ESAC bylaws occurred on October the 11th of 2016. Article 1, titled Authority of the ESAC bylaws, identifies that authority to establish this board was given by the Board of County Commissioners. Therefore, that authorization may be rescinded by the Board of County Commissioners. The board met on July the 11th of 2023 in open session to begin this discussion. On September 14th of 2023, the ESAC committee submitted their recommended revisions to the bylaws for consideration to the Washington County Volunteer Fire Rescue Association and the board. On October 19th of 2023, the Volunteer Fire and Rescue Association voted on those revisions as presented by ESAC, and the Washington County Volunteer Fire Rescue Association's formal position is that it does not support the revised documents. Given the evolving nature of fire and emergency medical services delivery, the need for this advisory committee has diminished, and its continuing operation has become obsolescent and unnecessary. And I'll open it up to you for discussion.
Comments? Discussion?
Well, I've been on it I might as well start, be the good or the bad guy, I'm not sure yet. I been there for 5 years, ex officio. We first started, I'll just give you a summary of my thoughts on it. When we first started, there was probably, without exaggerating, Dick, I don't know, 25, 30 people at those meetings. And they, for lack of better terms, and I've said it publicly at the meetings, that I'm not saying nothing has ever been accomplished by any means, and the expertise is beyond, it's just enough experts around that table that when they come, that, you have to show respect. Yeah, they forgot more last night when I know about it, but I was there. I was there mostly every meeting until they started changing bylaws, and I stayed out because I know we'd have to look at them. But I was just looking back over the last year, and meetings canceled due to lack of attendance were June 22, August 22, May 23, June 23. Meetings without a quorum were September 22, November 22, March 23, and that's not the last 6 months. So I don't know what's happened. I didn't get a report for the last 6 months. And then I was waiting to see what the Volunteer Association did. They don't support the new bylaws that Mr. Crowith put a lot of work into, and Dick and all of them. They don't support those. I can't say I do either. I'm sorry, but I don't really support them either. Because, if I have to make decisions, I want them to be on my shoulders. I don't want somebody making decisions for me, even though I know that wasn't the intent. When the association doesn't support them and we don't have much of a turnout, I'm not so sure that it shouldn't be on a needed basis when we need we have the association, but when we need an authority in a crisis or authority in a big decision, bring a committee back and make those changes. Now, again, I'm just telling you what I've been there. I'm not a vacant commissioner who comes once every 6 months. And I've had this discussion from Kingsley for 5 years. Well, we got to do something. We got to do, and Joe, you did a good job on put a lot of time into writing those bylaws. But that's just my observation, I mean, I'll go with any decision we make, but since I was there, I think I'm the only one that has really lived through the 5 years and saw exactly what was happening. I just don't, it seems like a redundancy to me. Association, ESAC. It just seems like a redundancy. We have the association. I understand ESAC was formed for Fair Play's dilemma. I wasn't here then, so I don't know if somebody can shed more.
They were reconstituted for Fair Play. They had existed in the past and were dissolved, or whatever the word is, and then they reconvened when we put Fair Play on 3 years probation. They were constituted for the oversight of that. I'm going to agree with Randy. I'm going to support dissolving the committee. I see it's redundant. All good people on there, great experience, all respect in the world for you. If we would dissolve this committee and need experts, I'm sure they would call or answer the call to come back and give us advice at any given time.
Given that there has been kind of a lack of attendance recently, would there be any interest in keeping the committee, but just on an as-needed basis, and they don't need a regular monthly meeting date, but we call upon them when a need or advice might be warranted?
We could do that without an as-needed basis, too. I would still support the dissolvement.
We have a couple members of the ESAC committee here.
They're in the gallery. They're not on.
Yeah. But we're discussing a committee, and would they have a desire to say anything?
They're in the gallery, President. They're in the gallery. They're not on there to speak. It violates our policy of people from the gallery.
Well, we do it all the time, Commissioner.
No, we don't either.
Yes, we do.
And I'm protesting that they're from the gallery. They do not speak.
Can you raise your hand if you want to keep the committee?
Again, they're from the gallery and they're participating. We've had issues with this, I insist.
Well, they didn't raise their hand, so
You're still trying to violate our policy.
It's not a violation.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are, my opinion.
Your opinion.
State your opinion or call for the vote. I call for the vote I make a motion to dissolve the committee.
I'll second.
Now we can have discussion.
Other discussion?
Call for the vote.
Okay, no other discussion, no other comments? We do have a motion and a second on the floor. Call for a vote. All in favor by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm a no. I think we could rework it somehow.
4-1.
4-1. Motion to go into the closed session for the reasons stated.
Motion.
Second.
Motion and a second to go into closed session. I'd like to suggest we take a 5-minute recess, maybe 10. Okay, let's take 10 minutes. We're 20 minutes ahead of schedule, so.